recording for posting on YouTube stops, we will enjoy our postlude, and then we will share joys and concerns, followed by our fellowship hour. So please stay around for all the portions. Did you set your clocks back last night? Or are you feeling like a regular smug Arizonan where we don't hassle with that stuff twice a year? Because after all, who wants an extra hour of 2020, right? So we're on time, 10:30 is time for church, and here we go. Our theme this month is spirituality. I recently had an amicable disagreement with a friend who stated that everyone is religious, whatever they believe. She said religion is a part of ethics. But for me, religion implies the belief and worship of a god or a superhuman power, especially a god or gods, whereas spirituality to me is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit. What does spirituality mean to you? Today, our special speaker, Dr. Sheffield, will be sharing her always interesting view on this subject of spirituality, on which most everyone has an opinion. I know we are all in for a great treat as Kathryn Sheffield shares later in the service. I have 3 announcements this morning. First of all, Lucy Trissel, a beloved founding member of our congregation, is 98 years young today. She was born in the roaring 20s, and here she is going through another roaring 20s. She's at her daughter's house in Glendale today, celebrating with family, but I'm sure she would enjoy a phone call or a card. Doing well, living alone still in her home, where she and her husband moved here many years ago. Anyway, it's a pleasure to say happy birthday to our oldest member, Lucy Trissel. On Saturday morning, November 7th, I will be beginning 6 one-hour discussion groups on Zoom at 10 a.m. to discuss transgender inclusion, also called Transforming Hearts. I have about 8 people that are planning to join me. And if you are interested in joining us, learning more about it, you can call me or send me an email or text or put something in the chat. And our third announcement, Noel Johnson says that Saturday morning at 7:30, November 7th, is campus cleanup. So grab your gloves, your bottle of water, and join him on our beautiful campus that needs some tender, loving care. 7:30 this Saturday with Noel Johnson. It's time to light our chalice. As Paul lights our virtual chalice, I will share 2 brief quotes about spirituality. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "Make your own Bible. Select and collect all the words and sentences that in all your readings have been to you like the blast of a trumpet." And John Lennon of the beloved Beatles, "I believe in God, but not as one thing, not as an old man in the sky. I believe that what people call God is something in all of us. I believe what Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha and all the rest said was right. It's just that the translations have gone wrong." Now, please join me in the unison reading of our church covenant. I will be reading it when Paul puts the slide up. and I hope you will read along in the privacy of your own home. Our church covenant. Love is the doctrine of our congregation. The quest for truth is our holy right, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in friendship. Thus do we covenant. Well, hold on, bring the children, bring the old folks, everyone young at heart, because we have a special feature this morning. We have a musical story for all ages by Paul and Chippy. Oh, wow. Wasn't that fantastic? Chippy, you really make Paul sound good. And I hope you will return very often. That was fascinating. Oh, a story about the sea. Well, it's time for us to give an offering to support the work of our church. The Greek word metadidomi means to give over, to share, to give to impart. As a giver, we have the Spirit-given capacity to share our material resources. Our gifts will be graciously received by mail to the church, or mail to our youth treasurer, Mark Oler King, or by PayPal. There is a link to PayPal in the chat. We will listen to our offertory. Oh, Rocky, thank you. Aren't we blessed with wonderful variety of music? Dr. Caden Sheffield is a retired professor of linguistics and humanities who is now pursuing various creative arts and facilitating storytelling and creative arts groups. I heartily welcome Dr. Sheffield back to our virtual podium.
Thank you, Jim. It's wonderful to be here. I hope everyone can hear me? Okay. When I was asked to speak here a few months ago, and they told me it was November 1st, I thought, well, I have given ceremony or given sermons and presentations about Samhain or Halloween, but not only was this the morning after, but we were 2 days away from something far scarier. So I thought my usual preparation of thinking about something wouldn't work. And in addition, they told me there was no theme at the time. So I was at a loss, and I literally had to just give up and say, let me get closer to the time to see what's going on. But luckily, they came up with a theme of spirituality, which is really near to all our hearts. It's a broad theme. So I began to ponder about this. And being a linguist, I follow the theories of Ferdinand de Saussure, who was the founder of structuralism, that words do not have one single or even several single assigned meanings per se. Rather, their meanings exist as a node in a web of the language we speak. And it comes from what the other words are in the language, what space is left. In other words, it's defined by what it doesn't mean. Dog as opposed to cat or zebra or something else. Sweet as opposed to sour or bitter or salty. So I follow that as a linguist. But as a poet, I entirely reject this hypothesis. For poets know that a word is not just a meaning, but a sound, an image, a set of associations, and each one is unique. As Mark Twain said, the difference between the right word and the wrong word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. So I started to think, what is it we mean when we use the word spirituality? Does it have, as the linguists say, a single definitive essence we can all agree on, that poetry would suggest? Or is it a node in the web of other slippery words we use like freedom, justice, or love? If so, what is that meaning in the web of English? Spirituality as opposed to what? Well, it's more and more often being used to describe our inner experience, especially among the young, who often identify as spiritual but not religious. So I began to compare those two words and to do some research. And I came upon an image that seemed to sum it up for me. It's, imagine this, a cutaway version of the sea with little waves across the horizon marking a boundary between sea and sky. Submerged in the water is a fishbowl with a tiny orange fish in it, nose pressed to the glass. Just outside the bowl is an identical tiny orange fish looking in at the first one. The inside of the fishbowl is labeled religion. The ocean is labeled spirituality. For me, the fishbowl is a creation of culture or religion, and it represents the condition that we are born into. We're all born into some culture, and usually that contains some kind of religious beliefs. And they are often beliefs, stories, and practices decided on by others, the ones who came before us. We had no say in the matter, any more than we chose which bowl we'd be born into. We swim about inside that bowl as if it were the whole ocean, often being told that it is the whole ocean, learning all the while what our culture or religion tells us is true of the world and of ourselves. We are told what kind of fish we are, sunfish or flounders, what role we play in the bowl vis-a-vis other fish, and what makes a good fish and a bad fish of our species. The glass of the bowl both reflects ourselves back to us and obscures what's outside, distorting both. We may see ourselves not as a good sunfish, but as a bad flounder, and seek to lop off the parts of us that are not flounder-like and seek to rise above. And we may see the fish outside as not identical to us at all, but as different, larger, more threatening. We label them things like heretic, radical, infidel, atheist, all words that translate to enemy. Now, there's nothing wrong with bowls per se. Many fish find life in the bowl to be perfectly fine and swim around happily, nourished by the water continually sweeping into it from the sea. But for others, the waters might not nourish quite so well. Maybe they want to swim to the top, but are told they're flounders, doomed to lie on the bottom. Maybe they want to swim free, but are told they must stay within the school. Such fish are often marginalized and pushed toward the glass boundaries of the bowl. But eventually, pretty much all of us fish in the bowl find ourselves cruising near that glass, simply because the bowl is finite and our needs and questions are infinite. We all pass that way, the way of doubt. These things are always happening in any fish bowl, slowly stressing its ecosystem as life in the bowl continues. But sometimes the process speeds up, causing a sea change. More and more of us fish begin to feel that the bowl we're in is too small and that the new water coming in from the sea calls for new responses. We may try to establish a new equilibrium inside the bowl, or we may choose to leave, or we may even be thrown out of the bowl by the other fish or by larger events at sea. That's when we enter the deep waters of spirituality. It is literally a leap of faith. And as Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi says, faith is like swimming the backstroke, reaching above and behind us into an unknown we cannot see. In these waters, we reach for the non-tangible nourishment we all need just because we're human. We reach for healing, meaning, and transcendence. Healing from the guilt and shame, the anger and blame, the grief and rage we may have taken on and which weigh us down. And in the ocean of spirituality, we find many kinds of forgiveness. We reach for meaning and wisdom in our lives and the courage to live our values. And in the ocean of spirituality, we find many new creatures and habitats, all modeling possible ways toward equilibrium. And we reach for transcendence. We yearn to experience our relationship to ourselves, to others, to the ultimate one. And the ocean responds by showing us the stillness in the continual change that is life. To quote Henry W. Longfellow, "My soul is full of longing for the secret of the sea, and the heart of the great ocean sends a thrilling pulse through me." This, to me, is spirituality. The deep waters that flow through us, whether we are inside or outside any particular fishbowl. It all reminds me of one of my favorite Disney movies, Finding Nemo. Nemo swims out of the fishbowl of the Great Barrier Reef into the depths of the ocean, where he finds creatures he could never have imagined, negotiates dangers he would not have believed himself capable of overcoming, and transcends himself as he serves another. Remember Dory, his forgetful fish companion? But this ocean vision is more than just a spiritual metaphor. Let's not forget that we are also in the midst of an actual global sea change. In fact, many sea changes. That colorful Great Barrier Reef in the movie is 2/3 dead today, bleached gray by rising ocean temperatures and acidification. Some of the creatures Nemo met are fast becoming part of the 6th great extinction. Ocean levels are rising, salinity is falling, and currents are shifting, changing our weather. This requires not just contemplation, but action. Action in service to all who share and are part of the ocean of life. So we must not be afraid if a sea change requires us to leave our comfortable fish bowls, for the sea of spirituality is always there. It is the water we all swim in, always have, and it will support us even as we support ourselves and each other. As the poet Christy Ann Martine says, "Dance with the waves, move with the sea, let the rhythm of the water set your soul free." Or as Dory, the great philosopher in Finding Nemo said, "Just keep swimming." Thank you.
More, please, more. Oh, Kathryn, that was powerful and inspiring. What a wonderful interpretation of a view of spirituality. Excellent. As we extinguish our virtual chalice, time for us to join in a unison reading of our mission statement. We agree to provide a safe place, celebrate diversity, draw inspiration for living better lives, foster social and environmental justice, and compassionately support each other in our spiritual searches. Don't you love our covenant and mission statement? I have nothing to disagree with them, nor do I disagree with anything that Dr. Sheffield shared today. For speaking today, thank you, Kathryn. For hosting today, thank you, Paul and Barry. For music today, thank you, Joe Cleland, Rocky Dodderer, Paul Darling, and Chippy. I close with a brief word of advice. Advice that I need to practice in my own life. The quieter you become, the more you hear. The quieter you become, the more you hear. Namaste. Now we will have our post.